So today I'm going to show how you can use the RGIS GUI to edit a network file, more specifically to subset the network file and end up with one basin that we can then use to run WBM plus or WBM set. So the first thing we need to do is to run the RGIS GUI. So in here all I need to do is RGIS. And the GUI will open in a minute. Here it is. So I'm going to use a coarse resolution network file, a 30-minute one, just because it works so much faster with a coarse resolution input. So the first thing we want to do is open a file, and I'm going to find it on my computer. So generally it's in the RGIS archive folder, and then I'm going to do a global one, so global, and then we're going to network. And I know that the POT-STN has a 30-minute one, so I'm just going to use it. I already created one before, but let's use the original global network. So the RGIS GUI has a number of cool features. One of them is the display. So you can click on display 2D view, and it renders really quickly if it's a coarse resolution file, but if it's fairly fine resolution, it may take quite a bit of time to do that. Now, one thing that I want to show you, you can do a lot of this visually, although I'll show you how to do it with the attribute table in a minute. But you can use the magnifying glass. For example, let's zoom in on the Mississippi. So it's just like a typical kind of GIS framework. All right, this is the Mississippi outlet, and now one thing that you can see in the main GUI is that the user mode is what we use to control a lot of the edits that we can make to the network visually. So let me increase this a little bit. So by default it's go to query. So if I use the query or the action tool, whatever it's called, and I click on a feature, it will give me the attributes because that's query mode. There are other modes, include select, add, delete, rotate. These are things that, or the delete and add are tools that we can use to edit individual nodes in the network if we want to make some changes to it. We're not going to cover this today. What we're going to do is go to select or choose select, and then if we're still in the tool or the action tool as I call it, if we click on any location along the network, it should select the upstream basin because it's in upstream mode. So let's zoom out. And you see that the Mississippi is selected. Now what I can do visually, if I want to, I can delete the Mississippi. So we can go to edit, delete selection, and DB cells. We're going to delete the cells. And once I click on it, it's going to take a minute to actually calculate because it's recalculating or rebuilding the network. Sometimes it takes longer, and if you're doing it for a fine resolution network, it can take a lot longer. To be honest, I had limited success doing it with very high resolution, 15-second and so on networks because of that. Now if you go to display, render, redraw all, you see the Mississippi is now gone. Now these changes are not saved or not saved or stored until we go to File, Save, or Save As, which I'm not going to do at the moment. But just remember that that's an important thing. It only come into effect if you remember to save it. Now this, you can do it manually one by one and so on, but let's say in this exercise we want to create a network file for the Amazon. So delete everything else except for the Amazon. So a better way to do it is to go to display, open table. And here we're going to go with DBI items. Let me close the viewer here quickly. All right, so as you can see, it's a big table. There's a lot of attributes there. And the Amazon, not surprisingly, is the first basin. We see that it has a basin order of 6. And it has a unique record ID. And now we're going to use it. Now in this case, for this network, the Amazon is the only basin that has a basin order of 6, and all the other basins has a smaller order. And we can use that to basically select all the other basins and delete them. So let me show you how we can do that. So let's clear this selection. Every time you click, by the way, if you click on something, it's going to select it. But let's clear that. The best way to do it, I think, is if you right click on the header of an attribute column, you can change its order, ascending, descending, and so on. Let's use select. Now select gives you that query box, and what we're going to do is going to select all the basins that are smaller than 6. So we want to select all the basins except for the Amazon. So we click select, accept, sorry, not select, accept. And it will take a minute because now it needs to query the entire database, and then that can take a little while. And again, if you're doing it in high resolution network, that can take a long time. So there's definitely limitation of using this method for high resolution networks. So now you can see that the entire all the basins except for the Amazon were selected. All right, that's simple enough. Now we go to edit and delete selection, cells, DB cells, and again this can take a couple of minutes, and for a large data set it can take a very long time, probably hours. There we go. So let's do this. First of all, if we go to the table, open it again, you'll see that only the Amazon remains. If we go to the display, we see that there's only one basin. This is the Amazon. The problem is that, as you can see, while it's only the only basin remaining, it's still in this global domain, right? It's just, and that's not good for the simulation that we want to do, so we need to trim it. The procedure, first of all, it's a good idea to start saving what you've done so far, because it's quite possible that you're going to do something wrong and the system will crash and you would need to start from scratch. So let's do it now. Let's go to File, Save As, and as you can see, I already created one called Amazon, so I'm just going to use it. Or you can just change it here. Let's do that. Let's call it Amazon 2, and the rest of the file is over here. Now nothing seems to have changed, and that's because this information over here relates to the header. So we need to change it. We go to File, Header Info, and we need to change that into Amazon and Amazon. And if you want to add some information, you can do it here, and you need to save that, otherwise it's not going to take effect. So what we do now, we need to go to Edit, Build. Take a second. Edit, Trim. Should also take shouldn't take very long. And again, Edit, Build. And now if you go to 2B view, why didn't it work? All right, let's do this. For some reason that we probably need to close and reopen the file, and we call it Amazon 2. Here we go. Okay, we had to close and reopen it for it to show for some reason. All right, this is the Amazon. It's saved, and yeah, it's ready to go. You know, everything should be okay now. Yeah, that's it. Now, well, there's another way. We're going to talk about it maybe in a different videos. There are RGIS or GHAAS tools that can be used to do that from the command prompt. And these are more specifically the table delete record and the net build and the net trim. So there's a way to do that, but we'll talk about it in a different video.